I keep doing this where I don't add myself to the stream, and I need to stop doing that. But hello and welcome to another episode of the Couch Warrior podcast. I'm your host, Mike, and tonight I'm going to be breaking down PFL 7 for the playoffs. I'm going to be there live tomorrow. I was there live today for the weigh-ins. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. Should be a fun card. 11 fights, I believe. So should be a good one. Bunch of UFC vets. That'll be interesting to see. And I've got one big spot that I really like, an underdog shot. Still figuring out the unit sizing on that one, but I think it's going to be a big bet. So without further ado, I'll try to get through it quick. It's pretty late already, 11 p.m. Eastern time over here. So I'll try to run through this and then get us out of here. So first up, we've got Cory Hendricks versus Marthin Hamlet. Cory Hendricks is 9-4-0. He's 34 years old, 6'3", 73-inch reach, and he's training out of Syndicate MMA. On the other side, we've got Marthin Hamlet, 9-4-0. He's 30 years old, 6'1", 75-inch reach, and he does train out of Frontline Academy. So this one really this is a rematch, right? And do I think either fighter is going to that much different than the rematch last year? I mean, than the first fight last year? No, I don't think so. I think it's going to play out pretty much exactly the same. And then it's going to come down to round 3, end of round 2. Can Hamlet hold on? Did his cardio improve? Because that's what happened, right? He was winning that fight everywhere. He was winning it standing. He was winning it grappling. And then he tired out, and then he got choked out and lost, right? I think that if he doesn't get tired out, he's going to win this fight. But unfortunately, he still hasn't shown any sign of improvement on that cardio. And I just personally can't trust him. So while I think he's the better fighter, he's a great hammer and a terrible nail, you know? I do think Hendricks is live for another finish. Do I think it's going to be a sub? I don't know. Hamlet, you look at him, he's been subbed twice, been knocked out twice. Hendricks, he's gotten more subs than KOs, 5 sub wins, 3 KO wins. And I don't know. But then you also look at Hendricks' record, right? Who's he fought? Who's he beaten? Who's he lost to? And I'll pull everything up now on my other screen. But one second, I apologize. All right, there it is. Okay, so we look at Hendricks, right? And the Sorty fight, that Sorty win doesn't mean anything to me. I personally never I have all the respect in the world for fighters, but I just personally don't think that highly of Sorty. And a win over him doesn't mean much to me. I never thought he was that great to begin with. So, especially now, Sorty seems to be on a decline. So, I don't really think that means much. And then he lost to Chris Camozzi in the fight before that. That's a terrible look. That's such a terrible look. Camozzi he's past his prime. Let's just say that he's past his prime, and a loss to him in 2021 is not a great look. So, but Hendricks is a dog. He's fought in the ACA, ACB. He fought in the Ultimate Fighter. He made it to the finals, lost there, though. I don't know. He's a good fighter. I feel like he might win this fight again. I didn't want to play it anyway. I'll look at the line right now, what it's standing at. It's -150 on DraftKings for Hamlet, +130 for Hendricks. And, yeah, I mean, if I had to play it, I'd play Hamlet. But I just played Hendricks round 3. That's the only way I wanted to look at it. Because, like I said, I think it's very well might be the same thing where Hamlet's winning the fight till he's too tired, and then he loses in round 3. But I only did a 0.1 unit, got plus 1,000, and I'm totally fine not having much of a stake in this fight. So we'll move on to the next one. Next up, we've got Marcelo Nunes versus Delan Potter. Now, Delan Potter is a late replacement, and Marcelo Nunes was actually going to be one of my biggest bets of the year against his original opponent, Adam Koresh, who has no ground game and isn't even that good of a striker, even though he's billed as a striker. And I thought Nunes was just going to destroy him. Nunes doesn't have much in the striking, or at least there's just not much to work with on the tape. But his grappling's elite. His wrestling's decent, but his BJJ's elite. And I fully thought he was going to sub Koresh. If they do fight and they give me the same line, I mean, it was pick 'em. I thought that was ridiculous. So, yeah, I liked Nunes there. Excuse me. So I've got to like him here too against Delan Potter. You guys remember Potter? He fought Bresky on the Contender Series, and he didn't look very good. He was a late replacement there too, so he's been a late replacement now 2 times in a row. And like that's a good trait to have, always being down to fight. But like the technique's not really there. The ground game's not really there. He's getting taken down on the regional scene. He gave up two out of three takedowns on the Contender Series against Bresky. Been subbed twice. Bresky did submit him as well. It did get, oh my goodness, long day. It did end up getting overturned, but I think Bresky like popped for something, but he did get submitted. And I think that Nunes can do the exact same thing. If they give us a sub prop, I'm going to play it. They have not yet, but I'm hoping for like -1 something. I'll probably end up playing it. Dan Goldstein in the chat. What's up, man? Thank you for coming. I've been dumpster diving on this card. Umarov is live as an underdog. Barbosa. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that soon. I'm going to do the post limbs along with the prelims because I don't understand why they did it this way. But I'm on Barbosa, but I totally agree. He literally hasn't fought in MMA since 2012. We have no idea what his striking is going to look like. But I'll say it once we get there. But the grappling, Umarov did get taken down on the regionals. And also, I was there today live. Barbosa is huge. The guy is massive, like ripped and massive. Like if there's like better pictures online, look it up for PFL weigh-ins. I'll post mine. Not that great quality. I used my iPhone. You can probably find better stuff, but holy moly, he looked bigger, stronger. And man, I mean, the guy's got a sub win over Gilbert Burns. He just got elite BJJ. I think it's most likely he gets a sub early, but if not, Umarov is hell alive. His grappling is also really good, and his striking is really good. So, yeah, I mean, I do not disagree. And right before I turned the stream on, I actually, my glasses aren't straight. I was actually looking for Umarov round 3, but they didn't put that up, and I don't think they're going to. They haven't given us much props for like the post limbs and whatnot, but that's the way I would look at it for sure. If they do give it Umarov round 3, I think that's super live. But back to going in order. I do think that Nunes will get the sub here, so we'll move on. Won't waste our time here. I didn't even introduce them, I realized, but all right. Oh, well. I do think Marcelo Nunes beats Dylan Potter. And we'll move right along. So like I just mentioned, we're going to skip the main card for now. We're going to go to the post limbs because they should just be on the prelims. It doesn't make any sense. And then we'll go back to the main card. So the next one is, this isn't even a post limb. They just decided like, F it. We're just going to put these guys wherever. Literally, this is like a fill-in bout. And they told these guys, be ready whenever. We're just going to stick you in somewhere, which is crazy. These guys need to warm up like normally. And to stay warm for the entire card is just a ridiculous thing to ask. I can't believe it, but it's just a crazy thing. James in the chat, thank you for tuning in, man. What app can you do to bet on PFL? So I use Bet Online. It's not an app, it's just a website. But let me pull it up for you. So DraftKings, Caesars, FanDuel, Unibet, Bet65, Betway, and Bet Online all seem to have lines. I would assume Bovada does as well. But yeah, that's what I use. I use the legal books too. I'm in New York, so I use DraftKings, Caesars, FanDuel. They don't really give props for PFL over here in New York. We just got legal sports betting recently. So if I want to bet props, I have to use Bet Online. But all those are good sites. I don't mind any of them. But back to the fights. We've got, all right, so we got Mahmoud, Fawzy, Sebie versus Itso, Babulaidze. Two difficult last names. I really hope I didn't butcher them. I'm going to call them Sebie and Itso to make it easier. So Sebie, 2-1-0, 30 years old, 5'11", 75-inch reach, trains out of American Top Team. Also saw him in person today. Dude's ripped, absolutely ripped, and he looks big in person. And then on the other side, we've got Itso. He is 1-0 as a pro, so he's very green, but so is Sebie. He's 29 years old. And yeah, there's no height or reach, but I think I was able to kind of deduce it. I was like looking at his opponents. Yeah, so I got that Itso is 6'1". He's 2 inches. And then I want to look at his record real quick because I know that he has a bunch of amateur fights. I just don't remember how many. He has 5, does Itso, and I don't think that Sebie has any. But Sebie is a former Olympian, We actually just saw an Egyptian Olympic wrestler this past weekend in the UFC get a win over Dante Omaze. Cost me a bunch of money and a bunch of other people a bunch of money. Hamdi Abdel Wahab, the Egyptian wrestler. I believe he's Egyptian. I think it might have been Jordanian, but I think Egyptian. And then Sebie, he's also a former Olympic Egyptian wrestler, very high level wrestling, but he fumbled the bag in his last fight. He was like a minus 1,200 against this guy, Ethan Hughes, in Bellator. And, he was winning the fight at first, but he just gassed out. And then Ethan Hughes took over. And what happened was the second that his wrestling wasn't working anymore, he got uncomfortable, exhausted. And that's when Hughes took over. Itso, he's also a wrestler. So when I first looked at this matchup, I was like, what's he going to do against an Olympian? Like if his path is wrestling and he's fighting an Olympian, what's going to happen? But the same can go both ways, like Sebie might not be able to take him down either. After a bit, I think he will take him down at least a few times. I just don't know if he's going to hold him down. Itso does have good wrestling himself. And the striking I give to Itso for sure. I think he's a better striker than Sebie. He keeps it nice and straight. Good 1-2. Output's a bit low for me. Sebie's got a good jab, a good head kick, but he doesn't really throw anything else. He's pretty low output, and it's just a jab and a head kick in wrestling. So because of his cardio, because I think Itso can push him, I think he can keep it on the feet and exhaust him because Sebie, he has wrestling cardio. His MMA cardio isn't as great right now, whereas Itso clearly has good MMA cardio. So the line is currently, you can get Itso at minus 130, Sebie plus 110. I got Itso at minus 115. I guess you could still play him. I think he's still playable here. 1 unit. Look, it's going to be a close fight. He is fighting a former Olympic wrestler who Sebie was actually, so I was reading that he didn't want to wrestle for Egypt anymore. And before COVID, he was going to try to wrestle for USA in the Olympics. And then COVID happened. And then he was like, all right, I'm just going to do MMA. So, he's a good prospect. I just hope he's been working on his cardio. He is at a great camp. So it is a risky bet to take Itso. But I think that if he can extend Sebie, I think he's going to win this fight. So at minus 115, I liked it for 1 unit. I think minus 130 is playable too. And we'll move on. All right. Next up, we've got Alexei Pergande versus Elvis Lebron Quiles. So Alexei is 1-0, 21 years old, 6 feet tall, 74-inch reach, and he trains out of Sanford MMA, my favorite camp. And then Elvis on the other side, love it. He's 27 years old, not much info on him on Tapology, trains out of Lionheart Modern MMA. All 4 of his amateur wins are by decision. This is his pro debut, whereas Pergande, he is 1-0 as a pro. He's got 4 fights as an amateur, all wins. Same goes for Elvis, all wins. So, all these guys in the post limbs, they're all very green, including these two. And, I think that Pergande is the rightful favorite. I think he's got the better striking. He's got a really nice 1-2, solid kicks, good front kick, good combinations. I like how he mixes the kicks into the combos. He's got good body shots. Only 1 KO win, and it wasn't as a pro. It was as an amateur. And then he's got 3 sub wins as an amateur, and his 1 pro win as an amateur. I mean, is by sub as well. And then his wrestling's pretty good, but I saw him make some rookie mistakes that they teach you in high school wrestling. He hit a double and then had his head on the left, but turned left rather than right. You're supposed to use your head to help you drive, and he didn't do that. So still questionable, but you look at Elvis, he's got pretty good striking, but he's a bit sloppy. He's hittable. His defense is pretty terrible. His takedown defense is no good. So I think Pergande is probably just going to take him down, submit him. Do you think he wins this fight? Do I want to bet him at these odds? No. What is he now? Pergande is minus 410, minus 425 now. Comeback on Elvis is plus 325. Yeah, it's unplayable in my opinion. So I would just say steer clear. If you look at the total, let me see. Over 2.5 is minus 140. Under 2.5 plus 110. Honestly, I would lean under here. That's a possible look, but I don't want to touch it at all. We're going to move on. So this next one I've already spoken about a little bit in the beginning when my guy Dan Goldstein brought it up. Oh, here he is again. Dan saying Elvis says hours 27, but I don't know. Man looks that he's 27, but he looks 35. Yeah, he doesn't look 27. I agree with you there. Pergande is 21. That's crazy. 6 years younger. 21 is so young, man. But all right. So already spoke about this one a bit, so I'll be quick. We've got Lucas Barbosa versus Elmar Umarov. Barbosa's 2-1-0, 30 years old, 5'10", training out of Atos BJJ. And then Umarov on the other side is 4-1-0, 26 years old, 5'10", 70-inch reach, training out of St. Charles MMA. Dan Goldstein saying, saw the weigh-ins and agree Barbosa makes Umarov. Yeah. No, you're right for sure. It's I was thinking the same thing. Vieira and Fluffy, very similar. Where you look at Umarov, he's got 3 sub wins too. He has really good grappling. He's got good wrestling. So what's going to happen if Barbosa gets exhausted? Umarov can sub him. If they give us props like that, like I can't blame anyone for taking shots like that. Like it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. Like you don't really want to be backing guys who haven't fought since 2012. At least not too much because I did it. But yeah, I totally understand what you're saying, man. And then Herb Dean is the gold standard. Love it. Thank you for tuning in, brother. Saying if they rob OAM, I'm going to lose my mind. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that fight soon. I have the same concerns. I think OAM wins by decision. I'll talk about it. But Hernandez just has a tendency to make any fight close. Any fight. So, but I'll move along. Oh, Dan Goldstein saying Barbosa's a dog. I can understand. You got inside the distance on Umarov at plus 210. That's dope. Where'd you get that? Let me see. You probably have like a Bet 365 or Betway, right? So, yeah, you're lucky. That's a good line, and I can't blame you. Since they have plus 130, that's probably what I would have done if I had that available. Barbosa did open as the dog as well, plus 160. Props to anyone who did that. Yeah, Dan Goldstein's on Bet 365. That's awesome. Where's that available? I got to check if it's available in New York. But we'll go back to the fights. We've got Elvin Espinoza versus Cory Jackson. Espinoza's 6-0, undefeated, 29 years old, 5'9", 73-inch reach, training out of round 5 MMA. On the other side, you've got Cory Jackson, 5-1-0, 34 years old, 5'8", training out of American Top Team Atlanta. So this is another one where, like, at weigh-ins, Jackson looked pretty big, like he's supposed to be 1 inch shorter here, but he looked at least as big as Espinoza, if not bigger. So, but Espinoza did look more ripped. And yeah, this is another situation where I think that Espinoza, it's unplayable odds, and I think the dogs are kind of live. So there's only one video of Jackson fighting that is available, at least, and there's just not enough information on his grappling there. He did defend a few takedown attempts. It looked pretty good, but like I can't be betting him when Espinoza's got a really good ground game, 3 submission wins as a pro, 4 submission wins as an amateur, really clean transitions on the ground. He's younger by 5 years, 1 inch taller. So, and he does have really good wrestling. So I do think Espinoza probably just out grapples him the whole fight, probably submits him. I wouldn't be shocked though if, on the feet it's close. I really wouldn't. Jackson's got good striking, strong kicks, but the output's low. He's only throwing one thing at a time. So I do think Espinoza should roll. But again, for all these post limbs, I wouldn't be shocked by any underdog upsets. Dan Goldstein saying, I think this fight could go longer than expected. Espinoza hasn't gotten a finish win and hasn't been finished. I might bet fight goes the distance here at plus money. What do you mean Espinoza hasn't gotten a finish win? Am I on drugs? Oh, I think you corrected yourself. Cory Jackson hasn't been finished. Yeah, I don't believe he has. 0 KO losses, 0 beat, 0. Yeah, I mean, I don't hate it at plus odds. What is it? It's Fight goes plus 150, plus 170. Yeah, I don't hate it at all, but I don't know. Low level, I think Espinoza is much, much better on the ground. So I think he probably just submits him. Dan. Same. But yeah, so on to the last one. And honestly, I think that this is probably the most live dog on the whole post limbs. And I also kind of want to, like, I really hope they give me a Jimenez sub because I'm going to play that if they give it to me. It's going to be crazy odds, and I'm going to play that. But anyways, here we've got Brahyan Zurcher, 3-0, 26 years old, 5'10". And do I have a camp for him? Yeah, he's out of Extreme Couture, killing it recently. And then on the other side, Ricardo Jimenez, 0-1-1. I think that this line looks the way it does because of his last fight. He went to a draw with like a guy who was literally making his pro debut. So it didn't look good. But he's 5'9", so he's given up an inch in reach, training out of Animals MMA. And he's not that great. He's pretty flat-footed. He's only lost by sub one time as an amateur. Takedown defense is pretty solid. I did like that. His wrestling is pretty good as well. I noticed that. Striking defense, awful. He's very hittable. He's apparently a BJJ brown belt with no submissions, and he's a Taekwondo black belt apparently. So I don't know. It doesn't really look like it to me, but that's what he says. Striking's pretty good though. He's got fast hands, good combos. He can overswing though and leave himself super hittable. Good jab, good kicks. I think that Zurcher's got the better striking. He's got a slick jab. His striking's very solid, very crisp. His own grappling is very sloppy. I actually low-key might give it to Jimenez, but Jimenez isn't much of a wrestler either. This probably remains on the feet, but I don't think Zurcher's anything crazy on the feet either. So I feel like this is probably just a major pass. Don't bet this, but like I feel like they made these odds by just looking at their records because like Zurcher's 3-3-0 as an amateur. Jimenez is 4-3-0 as an amateur. I understand that Jimenez hasn't looked good as a pro, but I don't know. I just don't think that Zurcher's that great either. I'm hot. I'm going to turn on my air conditioner. Let me know if that's too loud and you guys hear it, but I was dying in here. But yeah, I wouldn't bet Zurcher. Jimenez is live, I think, but I don't think you should bet anybody in that fight. And now we're going to go to the 4 Walmart belts. Literally Walmart belts. Bought them on Wish. But now we've got the 4 playoffs. So let's run through these real quick. We've got Rob Wilkinson versus Delan Monte. Wilkinson is 15-2-0, 30 years old, 6'3", 80-inch reach, training out of Factory X Muay Thai. And then on the other side, you've got Delan Monte, 9-2-0, 28 years old, 6 feet tall, 74-inch reach, training out of Evoluciao Thai MMA. So he's given up 6 inches in reach as Monte, and he's given up 3 inches in height. And honestly, yeah, Dan Goldstein saying Wilkie looked big. He did look big. He looked way bigger than him. I mean, 3-inch height advantage, 6-inch reach advantage. And look, realistically, Monte, he's probably got some really good management. I don't know who his management is, but like these guys got him from, he was literally 2 fights ago. This man was fighting on the Brazilian regional scene against a terrible 5'10" guy. And all of a sudden he's now in the PFL playoffs. You know, that's some great management. You know, that ACJ fight definitely wasn't great for him, got bopped. He did hurt ACJ though, so that's worth noting. You know, he does have power, even if he doesn't really have the technique. But overall, I don't think he's that great. Knocking out Emiliano Sordi doesn't really mean much. And I think that this slide downhill has really taken a toll on him. So that really didn't mean much to me. His striking's pretty basic. The jab is really good. I did notice that, but he's sloppy overhand, sloppy hooks. He does mix targets well. That was good. He just leaves himself really open when he's striking. He got hurt in his first round in his fight before the PFL against that guy who I was just talking about, 5'10" Brazilian regional journeyman. His wrestling isn't that great. Like his BJJ is not that amazing. 3 sub wins, 2 sub losses. One of them was to ACJ, so you got to give it to him there. He does have a decent body lock trip, but I do think that Wilkinson's going to have the grappling edge here, along with the striking edge. I guess you can maybe give the power to Monte, but not by much. I just think that, you look at Wilkinson, 2 losses, both in the UFC, one of them literally to Israel Adesanya. He uses his length really well. Good job. Good jab, sorry. Great combos. 5 KO wins. Been KO'd twice. Again, both UFC fights. Won by Israel Adesanya. His wrestling is really good. Nice trip. His top control is dope. I was watching the Soto fight over, and the way he picked up his ankle and kind of just like didn't allow him to use it to step up was so dope. And like the body lock takedowns are slick. The takedown defense, all right. Pesta got him down without much effort, but like Pesta's also 6'4" and much bigger and stronger than Monte. My 6 sub win, so maybe he picks up a sub here. Look, I don't really see how Monte can win this unless he picks up a KO, which is possible, but unlikely in my opinion. The line is wide for sure. You look at it. Let's see. Wilkinson's minus 310. Delan Monte is plus 260. Yeah, I mean, it's just not really playable. Dan Goldstein saying, I think Wilkie rolls. You got to beat the ghost of Sorting. Let's be real. Yeah, I mean, I just really don't see how Delan Monte can win other than a flash KO. So my pick is certainly Wilkinson. I did parlay him with chalk parlay, super irresponsible, but you got to do what you got to do. Me out. All right. Looks like I'm back. Let me know if it's not working, please. I don't want to talk to the void, but now I forgot what I was saying. Whatever. I think Wilkinson wins, and we're going to move on. Oh, yeah, I parlayed him. So chalk parlay. I did Wilkinson. I did McKinney inside the distance, minus 400. Disgusting. Hill and Alexei. And I got that at like plus 140 something, played it for a half unit, called it a day. All right. Next up, we've got OAM versus Alex Martinez. OAM is 15-5-0, 33 years old, 5'9", 70. It's called H2O MMA. And Alex Martinez is 10-2-0, 28 years old, so he's 5 years younger, 6 feet tall. So he's 3 inches taller, and he's got a 73-inch reach, so he's got a 2-inch reach advantage. And he trains out of Syndicate MMA. So look, it's pretty simple to me. I think that OAM is literally better everywhere. I think his striking is better. I think that his defense is much better. I think that his grappling is better. But Martinez just has this tendency to make fights close. And, his record's a bit deceptive, too. You look at him, he's got, 12 pro fights now. But he's got 19 amateur fights. You add that together, you got, all right. And also amateur fights are shorter. So let's say he's got 15 amateur fights and then 12 pro fights, 27 fights to OAM's 20. He might have more experience. I didn't count up the times, so I say might. But Dan Goldstein saying the Juice Boy parlay has never been kind. Yeah, you got to be super careful with the juice on PFL. I feel like every single time there's a card, there's like a crazy underdog win. And then Bellator, forget about it. That's my worst. Like if you go on my betmma.tips page, like PFL, great. UFC, pretty good. Okay, want to get better. Other regionals, I think I'm in the green. Bellator, disgusting. I'm so bad at Bellator. So yeah, I don't do Juice Bellator anymore until next week. But yeah, so for this fight, yeah, like I was saying, Martinez just has a tendency to make fights close. I was watching this fight against Stevie Ray. He looked good. His grappling looked good, but then Stevie Ray also took him down really easily. And you got OAM, who's a really good wrestler as well, a former Canadian national judo member. Oh, yeah, I was looking at this. I thought it was pretty crazy. He literally took down Anthony Rocco Martin 4 times back in the UFC, and Rocco Martin's notoriously difficult to take down, so, like, that means a lot to me. And like I said, I just think his striking's better. Like, Martinez does have slick BJJ. He does have slick transitions. He is always live for a sub, and he's got all the tangible advantages here. 3 inches taller, 2.5-inch reach advantage, 5 years younger. But I just think that OAM's the better fighter. I don't want to really bet it because Martinez has this tendency to make fights close, and for some reason, the judges absolutely love him. I've been cashing tons of tickets on him. I don't want to bet on him here. I might bet OAM by decision. It's minus 130. I think if he wins, it's going to be that way. I don't see him finishing Martinez, who's never been finished, at least as a pro. I don't remember it as an amateur or not, but OAM's never been finished. And he's fought guys like Sarukian, Burns, Dober, CDF. Like, I don't think he's getting finished here either. So OAM by decision is a way to look at it, minus 130. I might just play it for a half unit and not really do much. Dan Goldstein saying OAM could get weaseled. Yeah, I mean, if you look at his last fight with Manfio, right? He didn't really do that much. Like, if he does that again, I think Martinez is very live. And at plus 200, like, it's not a bad bet. Like, if you want to bet Martinez, I can't blame you. I just can't because I think OAM's literally better everywhere this fight goes. I just think it's going to be close, so I don't really want to bet him as such a heavy favorite. But I do think he wins this fight. I'm not going to be betting Martinez. And maybe I'll get to an OAM decision. We'll see. Follow me on at Cal. I post all my bets as soon as I make them, as well as my betmma.tips page. The link is on my Twitter and on my YouTube, so you can get that there. All right, so this next fight is my biggest bet of this card. I haven't decided the unit sizing yet, but I love it. And I've been telling everybody who will listen, and it's my video, so you guys got to listen if you're here. But we got Omari Akhmedov versus Josh Silveira. Akhmedov is 23-7-1, 34 years old, 6 feet tall, 71-inch reach. And so apparently he also trains out of American Top Team. I'm curious if they've ever trained together. I bet they haven't. ATT's like a really big... Sorry. Needed it to be straight, but couldn't get it. ATT's like a really big gym. So it's very likely that they never trained together, never really, sparred together. But I do believe that Akhmedov is now a DAG fighter. He was, according to his Instagram at least, he was in Dagestan. Most recently, he was at ATT, which is weird. But yeah, he was in Dagestan. So I believe that's where he spent most of his camp. And then Silveira is 9-0, undefeated, 29 years old, 6'1", so he's got 1 inch in height. No Herb Dina's gold standard. That is not it. 75-inch reach, and he's training out of American Top Team. I'm going to hammer Akhmedov. I'm just saying it right now. I'm going to hammer Akhmedov. I don't get this line one bit. Look, Silveira, who has Silveira beat? Who? Hamlet? Hamlet fumbles the bag constantly. Terrible cardio. Like, and then what? Juma on the Contender Challenger Series. Juma was landing on him. Like, that's a terrible look. I was looking at it this way, right? So first of all, Silveira, he leans on his grappling. That's his biggest weapon. He's got 5 submission wins as a pro, and it's really good. But he's fighting Omari Akhmedov, a guy out of Dagestan who's got really good wrestling. He had 65% takedown defense in the UFC, fighting guys like Ian Heinisch, fighting guys like Gunnar Nelson, fighting guys like, thought I had a list. Yeah. Chris Weidman, Marvin Vittori, like 65% takedown defense against all those guys. So to think that Silveira is going to have a grappling edge here doesn't make any sense to me at all. I really don't think he will. And then if you're backing Silveira, do you think that he has the striking edge? Where? What do you see? Like, maybe I'm blind, maybe I need better glasses, but like, his striking's not good. He doesn't throw that many strikes with his hands. Almost everything is kicks. You look at some of his, like, how many of his knockouts were kicks and how many of them were with his hands? I'll pull it up and try to see right now. Because I know his last knockout against Hamlet started with a knee. And then I know that he head kick knocked out T. Cummins. Let's see. Let's pull him up. All right. Okay, get this. So, knocks out Cody Rowling in 2020. Kick to the head. Okay. Knocks out T. Cummins in 2021. Head kick and punches. And then his third knockout, Martin Hamlet, 2022. Head kick to knees from the clinch. All he does is kick. All he does is kick. He doesn't have much hands. Dan Goldstein saying Omari got stung by that Lithuanian guy. Yeah. But you watch the tape on Astuclas, and he's a good striker. His problem has always been his grappling. He's a good striker, so can't really blame him there. And I just think that I think Astuclas is a better striker than Silveira. I think Silveira would probably beat him because, like I just said, Astuclas has terrible grappling. But yeah, I think Astuclas definitely has the better striking, though. I just don't think Silveira is an amazing prospect. I fully expect him to be in the UFC at some point, but he's still very green. You have to understand he made his debut in 2019. He had 2 fights in 2020, had 4 fights in 2021, and 2 in 2022. He's super green. He's fighting a guy who has more fights in the UFC than Silveira has fights. More fights in the UFC than Silveira has pro fights and amateur fights. So, okay, fine. Silveira has the measurables. He has the age, and I'll agree with Herb Dean is the gold standard. Probably the cardio, but he slowed down against Revel when it got late. I do think that was a 5 credit where credit's due. He did it, made it to decision. But other than that, round 1 finish, round 1 finish, round 3, round 1 finish, round 1 finish, round 1 finish, decision round 3, round 1 finish. Dan Goldstein saying chin and gas tank of Omari scares me. That's exactly why I'm torn between 2 and 3 units. I really want to just do 3 so I don't look back at it wishing I did more. But the chin has been a little bit concerning for sure. He got hurt in that fight against Astuclas. I noticed that. And he didn't do this really in his fight against Pesta, but against Astuclas, he kept dipping his head down with the jab. That can get him finished because, like I just said, what's the only thing Silveira does in striking? Kicks. That's going to be lined up if Omari ducks his head like that. That's a fact. So look, yeah, Silveira's live for a KO, maybe late. I don't think so. I think Omari's better. I think he's a better striker. I think he's a better grappler. I don't think Silveira can get him down. Silveira does down either. But first of all, I think Akhmedov is a different kind of wrestler. He's out of Dagestan. But even if he can't get it down, if we're stuck on the feet, then I really favor Akhmedov. I'm concerned about the chin, sure. But overall, I like Akhmedov way better. So, yeah, this is my favorite spot of the week. There are concerns, so I'm still torn between 2 and 3 units, but I like it a lot. It kind of reminds me of my bet when I bet against Adam Koresh when he fought, what's his name? Also a UFC vet. I'm blanking on the name. Klitsin Abreu. When he fought him, I got Abreu at like plus 300 too. I just feel like on PFL, people kind of overhype the prospects really fast, like faster than in the UFC, similar to Bellator, I would say. So, I don't know. I think we're just getting ahead of ourselves just a tiny bit with Silveira, making him such a big favorite over Akhmedov. I think at this point, like at this rate, I might end up getting Akhmedov at plus 200. That would just be crazy. Plus 185 right now. That'll do for me. But yeah, that's my favorite pick of the card. Just really like it. But we'll move on. We got 2 more fights, I believe. No, we've got only 1 fight left. All right. And then we're going to get out of here. I have some Chinese food I got to go eat. I am starving. It's been a very long day. Like I said, I was at the weigh-ins today. Very cool. Stevie Ray's also jacked, by the way. Dan Goldstein saying he's got to head out. Thank you for tuning in, man. I really appreciate it. Appreciate you talking to me throughout the show, too. That was a lot of fun. And, yeah, let's Anthony Pettis versus Stevie Ray 2. They literally just fought. They're each other's last fight. Pettis is 25, 13-0, 35 years old, 5'10", 73-inch reach, training out of Rufus Sport MMA. And then on the other side, we've got Stevie Ray, 24, 10-0. He's 32 years old, 5'10", 70-inch reach, giving up 3 inches in reach. And I have higher level MMA for his camp. Yeah, so if you watch their first fight, right? I mean, no fight's the same. So that was so recent. Like, when was that? Hold on, I'm going to check. That was literally 2 months ago, less than 2 months ago. So, like, while no 2 fights are the same, you got to think this is not much has changed here. I give the grappling edge to Ray. His BJJ is nasty. What he did last time was nasty. I do think he has the edge here, even though it was Pettis who engaged in the grappling first last time, right? But the striking, I got to give to Pettis. He's a more dynamic striker. He's got more weapons. And I think Stevie Ray's striking is a little basic. And I also didn't love his defensive grappling in his fight against Martinez. So I lean Pettis. I have no interest betting this at all. I'm just going to watch it live. That'll be fun, but I have no interest betting this fight one bit. If I did, I don't know. There was one bet I kind of liked. I'm not going to have it available because they don't give it to us in New York on DraftKings, but I kind of like either fighter wins by sub at plus 300. So between the two of them, you got 9 sub wins on the Ray side. And then on the Pettis side, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then he doesn't have a method of result on a bunch of them on Tapology, but at least 8 subs for him. So I kind of like that for, a sneaky look here, but otherwise I don't want to bet it. I give the advantage to Pettis. I think that's my lean. I guess he's my pick, but Stevie Ray is a dangerous man. That was a crazy sub. The modified twister. It was very clean. So yeah, that's it for the card. Thank you guys for tuning in. So I'm going to be there live tomorrow. I'll be posting updates as much as I can. And yeah, thank you. If you guys are into Contender Series, you like to bet it, but you don't like watching the tape, or if you like to watch tape, but you still want to hear what I have to say, tune in tomorrow. I am going to do the show earlier. I'm doing it at 2 p.m. rather than 4, just because I have to head out at 4. I live kind of far now from the city. So I'm going to have to head out a little early. So we're going to do the show early. I'll break down the Contender Series fights for you guys. That should be a lot of fun. And I intended to get something out for LFA. It's looking like I'm not going to. So I'm just going to scan through the card, see if there's any spots there that I like later tonight. I know that there's been a ton of action on the Oscar brothers, like against them and towards them. So I'm going to check that out for sure. Those 2 fights interest me. I'm not going to look at any of the favorites. I'm not going to go trying to snipe an underdog. Off first glance, Michinori Tanaka, as a favorite, I kind of like that. I might check that fight out. Yeah, I'm going to skip most of the heavy favorites. Follow me on Twitter at Couch Warrior Pod if you want my picks as I make them for LFA, PFL, whatever it is. And thank you guys for tuning in. Good luck this weekend and have a good one.